Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's English. My name is Dave and today I'm in beautiful Lafayette Square in St. Louis. Yes, you can get beautiful places outside of San Francisco and Miami and New York City. The United States is filled with many more states and many more cities, and during my time here in St. Louis, I'll be giving you some videos that will show you a little bit more of St. Louis. But this park is probably my favorite park in St. Louis. It was built in the 1870s. It got ravaged by a tornado in 1896, but they rebuilt it. There are unbelievably beautiful houses here. The park is really nice. And if you ever come to St. Louis, you should check this place out. Now, today I'm going to be talking about LinguaMarina again, because I realized in my first video, which was a critique video, critiquing her video of a critique video that she had done critiquing people who were critiquing her, that I never explained why I'm not a fan of LinguaMarina's content. And I think in today's video, I want to give you more of an explanation as to why I am just not a fan of hers. I just don't like her content, and I think it can be a little bit misleading as well. However, there are two things that I would like to address first. So the first thing I want to talk about is LinguaMarina's English level. A lot of people on my channel have been saying she has a B1 or a B2 level, but that's not the case. She at least has a C1 level, and I would even say possibly a C2 level, but I haven't heard enough of her English, conversational English that is, to make that determination. But she is definitely not a B1, definitely not. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to link some videos below from Cambridge University of B1 speakers, B2 speakers, C1 speakers, and C2 speakers, so you can get an idea what those are, what the differences are between those. The second thing I want to address is my video that I did about English for everyone. Now, I will admit that I was very critical, very harsh when it comes to their content, and I stick by that criticism. I do believe that they nitpick every little thing and try to find every little thing wrong with somebody who is doing a video about teaching English or learning English, and I stick by that criticism. However, I will admit I maybe was a little bit rough when it came to that criticism, and with that, I'm reflecting on myself, looking back and saying, you know, I could have toned it down a little. And so for that, Kevin and Lisa, I'm sorry. I think that you're doing actually a great job. I do have problems with things that you have on your channel, but overall, I think you're doing a stupendous job, and you need to keep on doing what you're doing as far as exposing LinguaMarina for the mistakes that she makes. But again, I still have the critiques that I have regarding their channel. That doesn't go away. I still stick by that. But the way in which my delivery could have been, well, I'll admit it could have been a little bit more diplomatic. So again, sorry about that. And one other thing I want to say with Liza and Lisa, which was kind of I think a bad taste joke on my part. I had a girlfriend many, many years ago named Liza, and that was the way that it was spelled. And that was the way that it was pronounced. And then I knew people named Lisa as well that had the same. So I didn't really know what it is. Sorry for a bad joke on my part. Okay, so I want to delve into the 5 main problems that I have with LinguaMarina's channel. Now, the first one is basically what English for Everyone has been talking about, and that is her pronunciation. So she has a lot of mispronounced words. Again, not all of them are mispronounced, but many of them are mispronounced. And when she mispronounces them, but then gives them as authority as to this is how you should pronounce a word, that's where I have the problem. And so when you do look at her pronunciation, you have to take it with a big grain of salt, or at least do a little bit of research on your behalf to make sure that she is right. But her constant mispronunciation of words and then uploading them online as it's some authority, I do have a big problem with that. So that is the first problem I have with LinguaMarina's channel. The second problem I have with her channel is just her having the wrong words. A lot of her videos are about don't say this, don't say this. Instead of saying this word, say this word. And I find that many of the words that she says are not the equivalents of what she thinks they are. And as a matter of fact, I think that they could be the opposite, that they can actually hurt instead of help. Let me give you an example. There was one time that LinguaMarina said, instead of saying sad, say the word disappointed. No, don't say sad. Don't say disappointed for sad. All right, let me give you an example. So let's say my family member died and somebody came up to me. Now, I would be sad. I would be very upset. I would be sad. I would be heartbroken. If somebody told me that they were disappointed that my family member died, I'd probably punch them in the face. Okay, let's be honest. I probably would punch them in the face, and I would have a lot of problem with what they would say with that. So if somebody said they were disappointed that my family member died, no. Saying you're disappointed in something is like when your favorite sports team loses a game. You're disappointed. You're not happy that they won, but you're not sad either. And it's these little things that LinguaMarina mixes up that causes confusion for a lot of people learning how to speak English. The third thing I want to talk about are the movie clips that she puts in her videos. In her videos, she tries to confirm that this is something that English speakers use, whatever she's talking about, by showing a clip from a movie or a television show with that specific word or those specific words being used in that movie clip. However, I find that a lot of times how she says something is said and how it is portrayed in movie clip are actually totally opposite. One could be very serious, one could be very sarcastic, but the meanings don't actually match up. So I find when those meanings don't match up, that it causes confusion with a lot of people trying to learn language. The fourth thing I want to talk about is writing and speaking. When LinguaMarina makes her videos and talks about replacing words, she uses a lot of words that are good for creative writing. And she actually says that in her videos. However, she says that you can transcend that into speaking, and in many cases you can't. If you start speaking the way in which you write, then you probably will look very awkward, and people will look at you in a confused way. I do find that a lot of her words are more for writing, and she actually says that. She talks a lot about creative writing, but she says they're also used for speaking. And in many cases, what she says would be maybe something more in an actual given speech or in writing, not what we would converse on a daily level with average people here in the United States. And in fairness to her, she's not the only culprit when it comes to this. There are many English channels that do the exact same thing. And to me, this causes a lot of confusion. And it also discourages people because when they have a basic vocabulary or an intermediate one, they think that they have to have this upper echelon of vocabulary in order to be understood, but that's not the case. If you have an intermediate vocabulary, that is more than fine. If you start learning these esoteric words, like esoteric, you probably are going to sound quite snobby, and you're probably going to sound quite pretentious. And you don't want that. The fifth issue I have with her videos is about American culture. Now, this is not about language, I will totally admit that, but she brings a perspective of being true American culture, Silicon Valley. 97.7% of Americans live somewhere else. And what she talks about, the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, is not indicative of the rest of the United States. It does not reflect American culture. As I said, here I am in St. Louis right now in Lafayette Park, very, very different from Silicon Valley, but on the other hand is also just an amazing, beautiful place where great people live and great people work and has a metropolitan area of over 1 million people. So we have to realize what American culture is, and that's one thing I would like to bring out in these videos that I do, is to bring true American culture, not just one centered on Miami or New York or Seattle or the Bay Area or Austin. There are many, many, many cities around the entire United States with many different ways in which to speak English, food, culture, other things. And that's something I'll be focusing on in the future. All right, so that was just a short video of why I'm not a fan of LinguaMarina. I'll admit it was kind of a short, not in-depth video, and that's okay. I didn't want to do a huge in-depth video because I have to do lessons in a few minutes, so I actually need to pack up here and do the lessons. But I will be making more videos about LinguaMarina. I will be doing more critiques of her individually, very much like English for Everyone does, but my critiques are going to be more focused on if what she gives is good advice, not necessarily if she has the grammar or the pronunciation technically wrong. I might mention that in some of my videos, but most of my videos are mostly going to be about the word that she recommends that you should use, should you use it? And that's going to be the focus of those. Anyways, thank you all very much. I'm going to walk around the park a few more minutes before I have to do my English lesson. And if you are interested in taking lessons with me, just go to Dave's English, sign up for lessons, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. So thank you all very much for joining me. I will be making more videos in the near future. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever it is you are. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.